Hey guys, I am back on the ugly couch, okay? This thing deserves some love too. But I will tell you, by the way, my name is Tara and I'm back here with you guys today. I'm here to discuss self-worth. Not just self-worth, but positive self-worth. And this is a very, it's a subject that hits close to home because it took me a long time to believe in myself, to find that positive self-worth, to be able to have that internal validation and knowing who I am, regardless of what anyone else thinks. And so do me a favor, if this video resonates with you at any point in time, please like it and share it with people. Subscribe to my channel because listen to me, you're gonna be getting lots of juicy stuff. I have a lot of things to teach. There's gonna be a lot of ways that I'm moving forward with my content. And hopefully we'll get better with locations and all these different things. But I like to be as real as I possibly can because quite frankly, I mean, it's nice to have perfect hair and all, but like, I like the pigtails. So with that being said, let's roll into self-worth. We all have a self-worth. Now, whether or not we have a negative self-worth or a positive self-worth, that's the real question, isn't it? And I didn't really realize that I had a negative self-worth, believe it or not, until I was about 21 years old. I had a pastor that I was studying underneath and whose church I attended. And he looked at me and he goes, Tara, he's like, you don't feel comfortable in your own skin. And I was almost like offended at this. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yes, I do. Because I've always been a strong person, right? Very outspoken, very, people oriented. And, it probably took me a good, almost 15 years to really start understanding what he meant. Along the way, I'm like, I think I know what he means. No. And you know what? There's still things that I have to work through. There's still things that I have believed about myself for so long, and I have to go and I have to correct those things. So let's take a step back in history. So once again, I told you that there's going to be a lot of themes. So being raised in a dysfunctional home, a broken home, we get our self-worth from the people, our surroundings, and because of the role that I played as an enabler, I got my validation from taking care of people. My self-worth was tied up into everyone around me. Okay. Always, my mother was an alcoholic. My father is a narcissist. My brother was an alcoholic. We could go into, and we had several roles. I played my roles. And I'm not saying that one is better or worse or this and the other. We all play our roles. And here's the deal. While we proceed in those roles, we are all contributing to the dysfunction. Now, obviously, as a child, I don't have as much power. But at the same time, regardless, we were all feeding into it. So moving forward, in a past video, I believe I spoke on those family roles and kind of a little bit of my journey in that. I always had a hard time really believing in myself. I relied on the validation of others around me. Anytime I made a choice in my life, I would always ask those around me. And fortunately for me, I started having people that were better role models that led me in a better place, that led me in a better path, but I still couldn't trust my own self, my own intuition, because I didn't believe in myself. And as I explained in that video previously, I married when I was 21. And just because my now ex-husband, looked better than potentially what I had come out of because your external circumstances, how you have chosen to set up, your facade. I married this man, and about 3 years into our marriage, which I also explained in my other video, I realized that I married another narcissist. I married my father. He just looked a little bit different. And at that point, because I was in the Christian church and I was very committed to my marriage, I was loyal. But if you want to look at what a codependent is, they're loyal to the bitter end. Oh, they're trustworthy. They take care of you and this, that, or the other. And my ex-husband, of course, That's what he was used to, because that's what he came out of. His role, what he came out of, that's what he played. So I stepped in and I replaced somebody else from his family that had been playing that role his entire life. So moving forward, I started my counseling journey. I started going to a counselor when I was 24, when all of this started hitting like when I started realizing all of this. We started having children about a year after that. And so I really put the majority of my focus into my children. And so it wasn't really on the marriage per se. And he was very much involved in being the pastor of a church. So with that being said, like, our marriage didn't really, like, there was a lot of things that were building up inside of me as I was healing, and I started realizing things. And my counselor had told me there was going to be certain things that came out of it. And she goes, sometimes you have to rock the boat in order for things to get better. She wasn't lying. She wasn't lying at all. And I was scared to do that. Scared to do it with my father. I was scared to do it with everybody in my family. You know, I did it at times, but I did it in an unhealthy way. Instead of being able to talk to people and communicate clearly, I would blow up, you know, which is what a lot of us do in those families, right? The codependents get so fed up with being used. Everything's put on you. You got to take care of everything. So you finally just get up and like, ah! But then what do? Well, I got to make sure everyone's taken care of. I got to make sure the house is clean. I got to make sure, you got to make sure everything's taken care of. So you go right back and you just, you push it all back down and you go back to being that doormat. But you know what? You get validation from it. Tara, you know what? If we didn't have you around, this shit wouldn't get done. No shit, Sherlock. You know? So there was a lot of things that I had to work through in my mind. And I'm going to tell you, my marriage came to an end because of some very extreme situations, very extreme circumstances. I didn't just leave because I didn't like how things were going. It had to take some very extreme circumstances for me to leave. And yes, I left my children. And, in my last video, it almost kind of sounds like potentially I left because I'm struggling with, I'm a drug addict. I'm not a drug addict, guys. I'm not a drug addict. No, I left because I had to. With that being said, I still hadn't completely, obviously healed from my childhood trauma. That's still been a process. It's still a process. There's still going to be things that come up in my life. By the way, it's a journey. It's a lifelong journey. But even leaving out of that situation, there was trauma that I had to heal from there. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, I didn't do everything right. Okay? I did things wrong. And I've been willing to apologize and own my part in it, okay? So don't think that, listen, it always takes two to tango, in those unhealthy situations. The reason why you got in that unhealthy situation is because you were unhealthy yourself. You're both unhealthy, right? So you have to learn how to work through it. But unfortunately, not everybody is willing to put in the same amount of work. And that's unfortunate. And I'm going to tell you, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. Hardest thing I ever had to do. But the healing that's come from it, I am in such a better place. So back to self-worth. Through that process, after I left my ex-husband, there were a lot of things that were shared about me that were either untrue or they were half-truths. And I had this whole community, this church community that I had built up around me. There's probably less than 5 people that I don't even know there was that many, that didn't even reach out to ask about anything. I've pretty much cut ties with just about everybody in my immediate family because they have all continued to stay in those patterns that they're in. And I've learned how to draw those boundaries. And so yeah, it's been hard. It was lonely, but I had to stop and I had to start looking inside myself. And I had to start asking myself, because when I started thinking about all these people thinking these negative things about me, it made me feel awful. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people that I looked up to and I served in ministry beside, or I served them in ministry, or they think all these negative things about me. And I had to get to the place where I had to say, why is it important what they think about me? Is it true what they think? No, it's not. So why do I care? Can I physically go and potentially speak with hundreds, possibly thousands of people that think these things about me and make it all right? justify everything. I can't. That was a hard reality because I had always gotten my validation from external circumstances. So you want to talk about having to really look inside yourself, look in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I? What am I? What am I at my core? When I'm stripped of all of my my circumstances, who am I? I am a good person at my core, probably one of the purest. I know there's going to be a lot of people that laugh at that, and that's okay. My authenticity scares people. My transparency scares people because most people aren't as honest and straightforward and as transparent as I am. And okay, that's fine. There's a lot of people that do see it. And guess what? I've gotten to the place where if you can't see who I am and you want to question me, then that's fine. You know, I'm not chasing people anymore. I'm not begging people to be in my vicinity. And so through all of that, I came to the place where I realized, like, I still have to ask. Even the other day, I made a post on Facebook about how do you find those negative core beliefs? Because I know I still have them, you know, and somebody had said, I was watching a webinar and somebody said, when you get triggered, when somebody says something, that right there is where that negative, you know, core, that limiting core belief is. So I have that happen from time to time. And believe me, this is a process for me every day. I've been processing. I'm telling you, my brain constantly going. So when I was growing up, I was always told I was too much. I was too much energy, too much this, too much that, calm down, and I always believed that I was too much, and I've always pushed myself down. Guess what? I'm not too much. I am perfect exactly the way I am. And those that are supposed to be around me are going to understand that, and they're going to embrace that beauty that is within inside of me. You know, I had somebody else not too long ago that said something, and I was like, ugh. But then I stopped and I go, what was that? And I had to take that negative thing that I had been feeding in myself, that I wasn't worthy or that I'm not lovable. Because quite frankly, when my mom would get frustrated with me when I was a teenager, she'd kick me out to my dad's house. And when my dad was upset with me when I was a teenager, he kicked me out to my mom's house. I was too much for everybody. Do you know what that does to somebody? Fortunately, I said in my video that I made the other day that I understand and I've forgiven them. Why? Because they didn't even know how to deal with what was going inside of them, or they were too distracted by their external circumstances that they were not able to pour into me and feed into me and give me the attention that I needed. With that being said, you know, I have also had to do some self-evaluating, you know, like I have to be able to be in a place where I can give even to my own children. You know, it's a lot, you know. I could go further into that one, but I'm gonna keep moving forward with this self-worth. And so I had a family member recently go, you know what, Tara, those of us in the immediate family, we miss you. We want to be around you, because I have cut people out of my life because they were draining me. And because of me trying to heal from my unhealthy thinking patterns, I've had to cut people out of my life. And this person goes, Tara, we really miss you. We want you back. And I go, I'm going to say something really hard, but it's the truth. I don't miss you guys. I said, I have grown. I'm up here now. And what you guys miss is who I was and what I did for you. That was the person that required your validation. I don't require that anymore. And I also had to tell this person, because they were like, well, I want to talk to you on a regular basis, this, that, and the other. Well, they still struggle with alcoholism. And even when I was speaking to this person, they weren't drunk, but they were tipsy. And it's frustrating to talk to somebody like that. And I said, quite frankly, I'm not going to tell you to not drink at all if you want to talk to me, but you need to be drinking minimally or not at all when you talk to me, because I can't handle this. That frustrates them, because I'm no longer going to allow them to stay comfortable with where they are while they're around me. If that's what they choose, that's okay. It really is. Because that's their struggle. I am protecting myself. I am putting those boundaries around myself because I don't want. Matter of fact, I just recently decided I'm not drinking at all. Period. Anymore. Will I ever say no to potentially a glass or wine or two in the future? No, but I'm not. I'm not even gonna like drink a little bit on the weekends. It has become very clear that I need my full mind, and it's one of those patterns that I just don't need in my life. You know, it's been one of the habits that has trickled down in our family, and I don't need it anymore. So, when it comes to self-worth, what do you believe about yourself? What have you been told? And usually we establish those pretty early on in life. But even through the different relationships that we have, come into contact with, people will try to feed in negative, Tara, since you're not doing this, you're blah, 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 and they try to control you. They try to manipulate you. And so they use those things that you already believe about yourself, and they continue controlling you, quite frankly. So, self-worth. I am an amazing person. I am able to do anything I want to do. Nothing can stop me except myself, my limited beliefs. So, with that, I'm going to sign off. And oh my gosh, I got like several things in my mind that I want to like branch off into, I got excited about this one. And so, yeah. Anyways, I will be talking to you guys again soon. And please do me a favor. If you want to reach out, you have any questions, or you want to hear me talk about something else, leave a comment down for me. Please like the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You guys have a wonderful evening.